Hello, everyone. Welcome to the talk. I'm Krishna Gade. I'm the founder CEO of Fiddler AI. I hope you're having an enjoyable conference. I'm here to talk to you about generative AI and how it needs to meet with responsible AI, and some of the risks around generative AI, how companies across the board are trying to solve for it, and what are the problems that we need to think about. So, I don't have to tell you, right, this entire conference has been about AI in some form or the other. We are in the midst of this amazing transformation, and I've lived through a couple of ones already in the last 20 years. The dot-com transformation, the cloud transformation, the mobile transformation. Now, it seems like we are in the midst of this AI transformation where pretty much every application that we consume, whether it's a consumer-facing application or an enterprise application, will be an AI-based application in the coming years. Now, the whole point of generative AI has been that, with the help of these large language models, now enterprises can get started very quickly. We are seeing this tremendous potential to vastly improve our business across the board, whether that's financial services, healthcare, pharma, retail. You're seeing an opportunity to have a $4 trillion impact on the economy in the coming years. Now, it's a huge, huge opportunity for everybody, and we're seeing across the board, whether that's banking industry where people are thinking about summarization of legal documents or creating reports very easily, customer service, chatbots that can help customers handle questions very quickly, or internal documentation tools. So across the board, we are seeing use cases from retail and CPG where we are working with large e-commerce companies that are trying to create curated shopping experience where you no longer go to a website and see a list of recommendations, and you go to, let's say you go to an Airbnb, you might want to chat with the chatbot saying that, hey, where is my next, next big destination? How do I find the next big place? Or you go to an Amazon, you might be interacting with an assistant to do your shopping experience, right? So these are things across the board that we are seeing, whether that's pharma or retail. Now the question is is all of this hunky-dory, right? Are there things that we need to be worried about? The previous speaker alluded to this a little bit. Fundamentally, AI is a black box for a lot of us as humans. It's this magical software that can take some data and spit out some predictions or generate some content, but we really don't know how it works behind the scenes. And even before generative AI, we have seen numerous cases where AI has gone wrong and bitten us badly. This has happened in various different industries, especially in the financial services industries. We have seen where AI going wrong, whether it's biased pricing algorithms or fraud detection techniques going wrong, or without proper monitoring and explainability and understanding of AI, we have seen these costly AI disasters. And these can be both disasters that can hurt companies in terms of business risk, where millions of dollars have been lost, or a lot of reputation damage. Whether it's a self-driving car accident, or a credit card algorithm biasing against women, or a company sort of losing business value because of overpricing homes that they purchased. So this is the reason why we are seeing that across the world there is this emphasis on institutionalizing certain regulations, right, to make sure that AI can be done right. Obviously, there's a trade-off here. If you regulate it too fast, then you would curb development. So we are in this midst of this a place where how quickly do you want to adopt AI and how safe you want to deploy it. And so this is kind of the trade-off where a strategy around building responsible AI can be very, very helpful from an enterprise perspective, right? So why is this important? From a ground level, right? When you have an AI application, when you productionize it, it can carry various different risks, because fundamentally, unlike traditional software, AI is different, right? It's not a deterministic software. If you train an AI model, it's not supposed to work the same way few months later, or even few weeks later, because the performance can vary, performance can change. And so this notion of having this drift in performance, being able this variability in terms of how it predicts, can actually cause a lot of risks. These are some things that I can talk about. When you actually productionize an AI application, when it makes a response, when it creates a response, or when it makes a prediction, how did it come up with that prediction? There's a big transparency issue there. Whether the model is being biased against a certain demographic, we don't know, right? Whether it's changing its performance across versions, whether it's leaking PII data to our users, whether it's actually sending some unsafe responses, how sensitive it is to different prompts. For example, if you have played with ChatGPT, if you slightly change the question a little bit, you might get a very different response. So how can we make sure, there's tremendous technology out there, how can we safely operationalize it? How can we take all of these risks and absorb all of these risks so that we can, deploy AI in a responsible manner? And that's the question that we want to answer. So here are some, more, risks that, if you go into the details, right? So, for example, generative AI, unlike traditional AI, can carry a tremendous amount of, privacy risk. And it's known that now these large language models can memorize training data instances. So you can actually, with prompt injection attacks, either your customers or hackers can actually extract out the training data that you are supplying for this large language models. This is an example where I can train a large language model with a bunch of Netflix movie titles. I can extract out the exact image of the person by supplying the prompt in an appropriate manner. And similarly, hallucinations are this huge problem with generative AI. Because these are just like number crunching machines, right? It's predicting the next word, next sentence, and it can make up things because it's scouring the entire internet to come up with these paragraphs of generation. So here is a case where a very well-known computer science researcher was pronounced dead by ChatGPT, and when this person was trying to ask and interrogate the OpenAI to sort of what's going on here, obviously it could not come up with a valid evidence of why it actually found out, came up with this generation. So this is a huge problem. Imagine if you're developing a customer-facing chatbot and it's going to lie about the mortgage rate, or it's going to provide like an incorrect estimate for a pricing for a price of an item. So these are huge problems for companies to think about. And then there's this notion of transparency, right? So generative AI can self-explain itself, but interestingly enough, the self-explanations can vary based on the context. So here is a question where, is the following sentence plausible? Wayne Rooney shot from outside of the 18. Depending on the context that you supply, the LLMs can actually come up with a completely different explanation between whether it's a football question or a soccer-related question. So you cannot really depend on these, LLMs, coming up with their own generations and explanations all the time. And finally, elephant in the room is bias, right? These large language models are built on World Wide Web, and World Wide Web is, as we know, is authored by the privileged class in the world. The people who could speak English, who had access to internet, have been authoring most of these documents. Now, there is bias built into these LLMs by default. Now, if you ask a question like, two Muslims walked into a room, it's basically the LLMs can answer with this Texas cartoon contest and the fire accident that happened. So these algorithms, have these bias baked into them. The models have bias baked into them, and so there's a very, very important aspect of understanding and knowing how the data is influencing the bias, and what are the outcomes that these models are emanating. So how do we deal with this? Now, on one side, enterprises have this pressure. Every chief data officer, chief analytics officer, heads of AI that we speak to have the pressure coming from the top down to implement AI as fast as possible. But at the same time, they have to basically cater to these risks, and because at the end of the day, if AI goes wrong, their heads will roll, right? So how do we think about responsible AI here? So this is basically what we have been working at Fiddler. We believe that AI observability is a great way to institutionalize responsible AI in an organization. We have seen innovation happen in the last few years, around various different modeling techniques, lots of data platforms, right? So we have maturity in the data warehouses, lake houses, and we have maturity now in lots of choices around pre-trained large language models or platforms that can help us create these models. But what is preventing us to operationalize these models is this lack of transparency. How is the model working? Why did it predict what it did? Can I make sure that do I have an overview of how all the models that my business is running? Do I have like governance around them? So this is basically what we believe is the missing link in terms of operationalizing generative AI in a responsible manner. And so, how does it help us? How will it actually help enterprise companies? AI observability, by fundamentally monitoring your AI outcomes, by monitoring your prompts and responses, by knowing how your AI is actually making predictions, you can actually make sure that your models are working for you, not against you, right? Your models are working for your end users and protecting the company's brand and reputation and not creating much business risk. At the same time, this is a great opportunity for all of us because we are basically leading this AI transformation for the society, right? We owe it to the society to actually produce, responsible AI products, where it can actually lead to fair and responsible outcomes for the entire society. And so it's a great opportunity to think about it, responsible AI, as you think about AI strategy in your companies. So here's a little bit about what Fiddler does. It's a full stack AI observability platform. We started with the mission to build trust into AI many years ago, pre-generative AI. So we've been working with lots of customers that employ predictive ML, your traditional customer acquisition models, fraud detection models, churn prediction models, credit scoring models. But now with large language models, the platform is extended to cater towards monitoring performance of these large language models, ROI of it, and ensuring that these LLMs are explainable, there's data privacy checks happening. So the goal of the platform is to create an experience where it can cater to your data scientists, ML engineers, but also your business leaders and your compliance leaders. The way we sort of build the product is basically your data scientists and ML engineers can integrate a variety of your ML models to the platform and create this cockpit view experience where they can track all of their model performance in one place, set up alerts, and do root cause analysis when things fail. And also create explanations of how the models are arriving at those outcomes and share it with different stakeholders. Because that's how we can truly democratize AI, right? Because there is a big gulf in terms of understanding of AI. Oftentimes, I was a data scientist and ML engineer at Facebook before, and any time, business people or product people would ask me questions of, why did the newsfeed algorithm show this new story, or why was this coming up? So we would shrug shoulders. We don't know. It's just the model, right? So there's a big gulf of gap between the practitioner and the business person, and the Fiddler attempts to close that gap by bringing a culture of trust in the company, so that empowering the ML engineers and data scientists to spread these insights across the organization. And we believe this is the first step towards addressing all of the responsible AI challenges. And so if you have questions, I'm happy to take. We have a booth nearby. We have a live demo for you to watch out for and sort of discover more. But we are very, very excited about this space. We believe that with AI now, with pre-trained models and large language models, we've come to a stage where every enterprise can adopt it. But now the question is, whether we all can adopt it in a safe and responsible manner, or we don't, right? So it's a choice one needs to make, and we are here to help. Thank you so much.